Hello, everybody. Who,
What up? What
who put the
up?
question mark on the teleprompter? No, hey, late night Reds. Thanks everyone for being here. I am filling in for Tim tonight. It is, I guess, great to be here, but also sad with the way the Reds season is going. But
Yep.
Ben Brown, so glad you could be here with me. And I guess as we were saying before we came on the air, Joey Votto, as much as we hate to see him gone,
Hmm.
he gave us a good news dump, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Absolutely. And Seth, pleasure doing the show with you tonight. Always exciting when we're able to hook up and do some work together. So, but yeah, definitely. It was strange and you kind of had a feel, but you almost kind of was holding on to maybe he'll have that one little shiny moment left. But yeah, he definitely gave us some news to talk about.
Well, so for the first time since 2002, Ben, you and I, we cherished the year 2002 with our Ohio State Buckeyes. But for the first
Absolutely.
time since 2002, Joey Votto is not a professional baseball player, and we're going to give him a good send off here tonight. I know the guys the other night on the Riverfront Reds show did the same, but
Hmm.
Joey deserves talking about, and we're going to do that tonight. If you're here in the comments, we welcome all the comments. Please give me some of your Joey Votto memories, and
Hmm.
we'll try to get some of those on here. And listen, um, Joey Votto means a lot to a lot of us, and I know everyone here on the riverfront. We cherished every moment we had of his. And
Hmm.
you said, you thought maybe there'd be a glimmer or a chance for him to kind of go out maybe a little differently. It was really sad that he had to go out the way he did,
Yeah.
but I will say I'm not that upset that he retires only having played for
No.
the Reds. That
I,
that
I
is
would. Yeah.
that is the
Yep.
good thing for me.
Yeah. No, I agree. Him being in another uniform just wasn't right. And even though it was his hometown team, that part was cool. He was trying to play for his hometown team of Toronto and try to, go back home and do that. But yeah, him in any other uniform is just not the same. Um, it is definitely it's a I'm trying to think of the word. It's just not poetic for him to have to go out the way he did for what he meant to this organization and what he meant to the fans of Cincinnati. I mean, for a lot of times, he was the only bright spot we had for a lot of dismal teams.
Hmm.
Joey Votto was the guy. So to see him go out like that, to have to, try to continue to chase a dream or to bring back something old that wasn't there, and not be able to finish up directly in a Reds uniform and get the proper send off that he is deserved of was the tough part for sure.
Well, let's hit that real quick because he did kind of a media scrum, and
Hmm.
he had to know. He drove up from Buffalo and got to the game at the end there, and he had to know the Reds reporters would be coming in and along with the Toronto folks. And you could hear he said hi. I could say, hey, how you doing? And somebody said, sorry, I'm late. I think they're probably in the visitors' dugout or clubhouse talking to the Reds players after the game too. So,
Hmm.
but the crazy thing to me was when somebody asked him, do you plan to go down to Cincinnati before the season's over, and if they want to recognize you or anything like that, and he turned a 180 away from there immediately.
Yeah.
I mean, he's never going to say anything, I don't think, publicly to bash the Reds or the
No.
franchise or the
Hmm.
front office. But boy, if that didn't tell me that he doesn't want to go there right now,
Yeah.
and listen, he does. I take him at his word. He's going to take some time away with family, and these next couple of months will probably just be decompressing because he's
Hmm.
been on a long slog. I mean, they talked about like 165 days in hotel rooms and
Yeah.
things like that. That's just so rough. Especially, he was talking about. Can you imagine being in a hotel room having to keep your ankle, your foot elevated all the time, and not really being able to do anything? Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that it's one thing to. I've had two pretty major ankle surgeries, and it's one thing to be able to do it in the comfort of your home with your sleep number and
You're right.
your kids are bringing you stuff and things like that. But
Yeah.
to have to do it
Yeah.
in hotel rooms, I am wearing Topps rookie card T-shirt tonight. What do you think?
Oh wow, that's legit. Holy
Yeah, I
cow.
got that from Homage here, and they're located, down in Cincinnati, but they're from Columbus.
Yep.
Hunter Martin says, I don't remember 2010 that well, but his 2017 season was the best I've ever seen anyone play. Hunter, I don't know how old you are, but that's what was amazing about Joey. Like honestly, if you look at his baseball card, the 2017 season probably was his best overall season. I think he was en route to a little better one in 2012 when he got hurt, but 2017, it's a crying shame. And actually, some national guys mentioned it this week. I think Jerry Krasnick and Bob Nightingale had him down ballot on their MVP votes, and
Yeah.
he lost to Stanton by minuscule points.
Yeah.
And I think Krasnick had him fifth.
Oh
And
wow.
the only real thing that Stanton did better than him that year was hit home runs.
Yep.
And he had every other, like I remember Trent Rosecrans shared a spreadsheet that he had. It was between Goldschmidt and Votto and Stanton. And that idea that he had a red highlight on all the areas where the guy of the three, the guy had better numbers. And Votto's was blanketed red, except for basically home runs. And there's no reason he shouldn't have won that MVP. So that was rough, but let's go ahead and kick it off a little bit with some thoughts. I'm going to go through a little bit of a timeline type thing, but then we'll do some more personal thoughts too, Ben. And I want to, after I go through a couple of the timeline things, we'll go back and forth on some personal memories. I mean, his first home run, he had pinch hit in one game, didn't get a hit, but his first at bat in his first start, he hits a home run. And I was working for Suburban News Publications at the time here in Columbus, and I was at my desk in the sports department, and we, had a radio earbud in, and all of a sudden they call the home run, and I went over to the newsroom. There's a guy over there that's a big Reds fan, and I said, "This Votto guy, he looks pretty good."
he's gonna be all
right. So yeah, that was really cool. And then 2009. So sometime in 2008, his father passed away.
Yep.
And in 2009, there in the month of May, he took a month away. He never had initially a set timeline, but he dealt with mental health up front with the team, and he said, "I got to step away." And a lot of people didn't understand. I mean, even we'd like to think we were pretty advanced in 2009, but we're not probably where we need to be even today overall with mental health. But in 2009, we were even less so than we are now. And he says he's taking some time away, and a lot of people just couldn't comprehend it. My personal memory is the fact that my wife and we didn't have kids yet, and we took a trip. We had it planned already. We took a trip to Toronto, and we go up there and we go to a Reds game. We actually stayed in a hotel there, the Renaissance, that's part of the stadium.
Okay. Yeah.
And
yeah.
So Votto comes out, and he decides to come back. His first game is that night. It's a Friday night. And he went 4 for his first 4 with, I think, at least 1 home run and 3 doubles maybe. And I took a picture of the scoreboard with him 4 for 4. And just to think, and I remember before the game, it was really cool. His brothers, I think he had twin brothers, and they were only like 11 at the time or 10. And they were on the field with them during warmups. That was really cool to see. So,
yeah.
What are your early Joey Votto memories before we go into MVP territory?
My earliest memories was I'm a baseball guy that likes approach. I like guys that come to the plate and take their at bats for their at bat. Like they really. So when they come to the plate, they're looking at pitches, they're studying pitchers, they're doing different things. And Votto's approach was the first thing I noticed when he first broke into the big leagues. His approach was just different. And even though they tried to make him a slugger and a home run guy, he was able to find his approach and be able to work pitchers, work counts, get timely hits, work to all fields, hit to all fields. And to be able to do that at such a young age and at such a young career, that was the cool part for me. I can remember him vividly taking at bats and just working counts. And I can vividly remember people being mad because he walked a lot or he didn't hit home runs when it was needed or he didn't. But, to me, his approach to the game. I know he studied Ted Williams.
Mhm.
I know that he read those books. I know he read Ted Williams' book, and I know he studied the game. So for him, for me to watch him do that and be a student of the game, to watch him work counts, to what it's hard to find a guy because when you first come up in in baseball or in any sport for that matter, you're trying to make an impact. You're trying to do this. You're trying to make your name and do all kinds of different stuff. But for him, it was different. It was just a different approach and a different way of doing things. Where you're looking at guys that are called stars. You know what I mean? So like
Mhm.
usually your stars are guys that are bombing home runs and doing all these different things. He just had a different approach, and his approach was pretty cool.
It was. It certainly was. And I'll tell you one thing. Like, you and I are about the same age. I graduated high school in
Mhm.
'97.
Yep.
When we were kids, guys either hit for power or average.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
1 year Wade Boggs says, "Well, I'll hit some home runs too," and he hit 26, and everybody thought he was He-Man. I
He
mean,
was registered. I remember that.
so
I do remember
Eric Davis hit 270 and hit bombs.
that. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So it was always, and then you saw Tony Gwynn. He's going to hit 330, but he's not going to hit
Yep.
that many home runs.
Yep.
And then Frank Thomas came along. And part
Mhm.
of that too is the fact that in the 80s there was so many guys who were trying to run a lot too. But
Yeah.
but Frank Thomas came along and hit home runs, hit for average, and walked.
Yep.
And certainly Adam Dunn did some of those things. He didn't always hit for that.
Right.
But things kind of shifted a little bit. Edgar Martinez, another type of guy like that.
Yep.
So
Yep.
so when Votto came, and I thought one of the things that maybe folks like a certain announcer that sometimes had an opinion about guys.
Mhm.
I think the problem is that Votto did both in 2010
Yeah.
so well, and then later on at times when he wasn't doing the power stuff as much,
Yeah.
I always thought that was kind of like, well, you showed them that you could do both, so now they want you to do both all the time.
Yep.
And that's
Yep.
really simplifying it. I understand that, but so he did have the 2010 MVP, and this is a personal short story I'm going to share. My wife and I found out we were pregnant that year for our
Uh-huh.
first child, and I'm a big Ohio State fan. I was probably an Ohio State basketball fan before before I was an Ohio State football fan even. And in 2010, we had a guy named Evan Turner,
Mhm.
and Evan was unreal. He was going to win Player of the Year. He won National Player of the Year,
Yep.
drafted
Yep.
second overall. He was a junior.
Yep.
And Evan was playing so well. And one night she and I were on the couches as we were in the wintertime here in Ohio. You watch a basketball game or a TV show,
Mhm.
and that's kind of what we did to wind down at night. And, I said, what if we name him Evan? And she said, no, we're not naming him Evan. John Wall was not robbed, Hunter. She said, we're not naming him Evan. My sister's best friend's kid is Evan, and he's a punk.
Yep. Yep.
So we're not
Yep.
naming him Evan. Okay. So she came up with name after name. I was like, no, I don't like that one. I don't like that one. Fast forward to like July or August, and it's pretty obvious Joey Votto is about to win MVP.
Mhm.
And we're both on the couches, and now she's like 7-8 months pregnant,
Yeah.
and she's not very mobile. We're just hanging. And Votto hits a 3-run homer. He's rounding the bases, and I say, what about Joey? And she says, I like that. All right. So now we've got our name. Okay. Fast forward to October. We have the baby. It's a C-section, so we're stuck in the hospital 5 days.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
come home, some friends visit us, and the husband of the couple that came says, I can't believe she let you name him after Joey Votto. And she's like straight faced as could be. She goes, what?
Oh.
And I go, yeah. I go,
Uh,
now listen. If she would have vetoed Joey, if she vetoed Joey, football season was next. And you remember
Yep.
who the quarterback was? It was Terrell.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
So,
Terrell Pryor.
I don't think very many kids that look like my son would be named Terrell.
What are you talking about, Terrell Shaner? What? Are you kidding? Let's
So Joey worked out pretty well. Now I tried to name the next one Jay, and she didn't let that happen. But
She didn't let that one fly. She
that's
did
a
all of her
story for
research,
another
didn't
day.
she? She was like, Jay, Jay, Jay. No, no, you're not doing it to me again.
Well, I thought it would be cool because we had Joey and Jay. We had Jay
Well,
Bruce,
yeah,
but there was
absolutely.
the pitcher in the '60s named Joey Jay. So for the Reds, so I thought,
Oh,
oh, this
okay.
this ties in multiple ways. And the crazy thing is, the funny thing is, about 6 months later, a girl I went to high school with, she lives down in Cincinnati now. She named her son Crosley, and I said,
Oh, I
"That's the
actually I do
cool."
have a I do, I was gonna say I do have a friend. I do have a friend that has a son named Crosley.
And
Absolutely.
I said, "Oh, I can't believe I didn't think of that." And
Yeah.
my wife said, "Yeah, I probably would have let you name him." Oh man, but we
Oh,
have Owen, so Owen fits his name very well.
I
So
tell
I'm
you
not
what,
too
Owen is a good one too. That was
yeah.
my high school football coach, Owen Howe. Yep. So
Man, so
yeah.
what happened tonight there, Ben? We got Sydney and Hunter commenting, but I'm hearing not Tim, and we lose out on all our other folks. What's going
I
on here? I
know.
mean, I just picked up on my other computer to see if YouTube has more commenters than our StreamYard here. Wow. Well, Hunter and Sydney, thank you so much for making this show better. So
Yeah,
that's my
absolutely.
Joey namesake story. Won the MVP in 2010, 37 home runs. Of course, he was the linchpin and them going on to the playoffs. So that's
Hmm.
certainly a big part of the Reds' recent history.
Yeah.
What are your memories of his 2010 season as you look back?
Honestly, the thing I remember the most, and it's a it's kind of a cool memory, but like I just Joey Votto for me was the first guy since Eric Davis that I was really excited about going watching every
Mhm.
single night. So like every time he came up to the bat, I had to turn it on. Every time he was, every time he was on the field, I had to watch. Like for me, that was the biggest thing about Joey Votto. Well, Joey Votto in general, but just that MVP season because you knew how good he was. And only thing I remember is I was just hoping that America realized how good he was too.
Mhm.
Like because those votes are so important, as we figured out in 2017. The votes are so important, and we're playing a small market team. It did help that we made the playoffs that year, but we play in a small market. I mean, it's sometimes our guys don't get recognized, but Joey Votto was so good, and on the national stage, he started to get that recognition as well as being a top 1, 2, or 3 guy in the league. So I just remember him just being must see TV because of how good he was. Hitting for average, hitting for power. Every time we needed it, I just remember every time we needed a run, he was there. Every time we needed a home run, he was there. Every time we needed an RBI, he was there. So it was like was just Mr. Do everything that year. So was super excited. Um, was super excited that he got the MVP that year.
Yeah, and remember too, that was a time when Albert Pujols was basically,
Hmm.
Babe Ruth.
He
I
was
mean,
Aaron Judge of then.
right.
Yeah.
Well, or even Mike Trout. I mean, people
Or
thought
Mike Trout, yep.
it's the same thing we see with Trout getting hurt, and we saw it with Griffey.
Mhm.
Some of these guys for that window, and listen, Pujols did it from '01 till through 2011.
Yeah.
And after he went to Anaheim, he just wasn't as good anymore. But these guys, they get compared to or start being called the greatest player ever.
Mhm.
And look at these numbers. He keeps this up, and certainly Pujols and now Trout hasn't been able to do that now. But
Right.
that year he did, and I was going to share one more memory. Joey went on Dan Patrick the other day, and he's gone
Oh,
on Dan
yeah.
Patrick many times over the years.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is this: um, I thought there was a time, and remember, and I think Sydney mentioned him coming out of his shell and showing his personality to us
Mhm.
more on social media. There was a long time when we kind of thought Joey Votto was kind of like, if not like he was maybe a little brusque, I guess would be a
Yep.
good word. He
Yep.
he
Yeah.
he wasn't full of personality. We didn't know that yet.
Right.
And certainly I remember him making some reporters sweat. He would, well, what do you mean by that? Those kind of questions and things like that. And
Yeah.
he had gone on um he went on Dan Patrick either during his MVP year or right around the time he won the MVP, and Dan made some crack about mental health or or there was some weird joke he tried to tell, and
Mhm.
I don't think he understood or remembered what Joey had been through with his dad.
Yeah.
And I thought Joey's never going on Dan Patrick again.
Right.
Back, I'll never forget that. I mean, it was really uncomfortable, and
Yeah.
Dan was like backpedaling like you wouldn't believe, and but then later on they become better, acquainted or friends or whatever, and they've
Yeah.
been on. He's been on there a lot. Another personal memory of a time he was great. 2012, I go to my cousin's graduation. He graduated from Clemson, and we're
Oh,
down there all weekend, and it's rainy everywhere. It had a rain delay. It's Mother's Day. There was a rain delay in Cincinnati, but it's raining down in South Carolina. We drove up into Charlotte. It's raining, and I was kind of glad there was a rain delay because I think we were kind of doing some family type stuff up until we could leave, and we would have missed the beginning of the game. So we drive home, and I hear the whole game on the radio. And that was the day I believe he hit the 3 home runs and he hit the grand slam to beat the Nats
yeah.
on Mother's Day. And listen,
Mhm.
he was on
Ah,
pace.
yeah.
He was on pace for something like 71 doubles that year. And he
Yeah,
led
I do remember that.
he led the league in doubles, and he only played 111 games. I think he had
Yep.
44 doubles.
He had
I don't
44,
have it.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me, but he led the league in doubles and only playing 111 games.
Yeah.
And he came back and he was basically Tony Gwynn. He couldn't hit for any power.
Mhm.
He came back and they did well without him. They actually, built a bigger lead when he wasn't there after he had a surgery on his quad. And he comes back and they go to the playoffs and should have gone to the World Series, but they
Yep.
couldn't get past those Giants. So, but Joey, in 2012, I think would have won the MVP again.
Yeah.
Uh, had he stayed healthy, and I'll never he hurt himself. Remember, he slid. He slid
He
into a
slid, yep.
base, and
Yep.
he hurt himself. And my goodness, you know, we as Reds fans, that little stretch, 10 we went to the playoffs, but we get no hit. We didn't win
Mhm.
anything.
Mhm.
11, we take a step back. And
Mhm.
then 12, we're going along great. That was, the pitching staff was amazing. The starters did everything great. But boy, we were still we were still fragile enough, right?
Yeah.
that that
Yep.
when Votto got hurt, it felt kind of like it was maybe the end. Uh,
Yeah.
but
Yep.
they were so good, weren't they?
No, that 2012 team was legit.
They
Yeah,
won, I
they
think,
were legit.
97 games or so that year,
Yeah.
and they were very
Yep.
good. Um, Somebody already mentioned Hunter. I think 2017. Up until then, I kind of thought he was on his way to probably being a Hall of Famer, but he played so well in 2017.
Mhm.
And I remember my college roommate and I would take these trips here or there. And that year we went to Philly to see the Reds play, and I couldn't believe. Like, I remember the night before we left, I listened to Chad and Jason Linden do a podcast, and they broke down Joey's numbers and how amazing they were. And it was like I knew how much I loved Joey Votto, but it was like they opened my eyes even more, right? Like
Yeah.
the numbers you can peel back, and the one obviously people quote now, and I'm glad it's more like people know it now. 7 times he has led the league in on base percentage, and there's
Yeah.
only a handful plus one maybe of guys that's ever done that, and their names like Ruth and Bonds and
Right.
Williams. Okay, and
But I would say that he's one of the guys that kinda made that popular again, right? Like, he's
yeah,
Votto put such an emphasis on getting on base that it started to turn people's ideas of why that's so important.
hmm well, if you read Moneyball.
Mhm.
Moneyball is based on that time, and the A's, the books about the A's wanting guys that get on base, and I think they had something like 6 draft picks before Votto got picked.
Mhm.
And so, you know, here he is, and he leads the league in OBP.
Like,
Now,
right.
nobody's going to do what Bonds did because people intentionally walk Bonds so much, but
Yeah.
it's pretty amazing. But that I remember that 2017 deal. I'll tell you another personal story. I scouted this hotel, and you ever been to Philly?
I have not. Mm-mm.
So where the Philadelphia stadiums are, all three, the 2 stadiums and the hockey/basketball arena, they're all together just outside of downtown. Like it's
Oh,
probably 2 or 3 miles, but they're all in the same parking lot. Basically, they share this huge footprint,
Oh
and
wow.
so I was looking for a hotel when we were going to go over there. We went to a game on Saturday and a game on Sunday, I believe, and I find this double tree, or no, maybe it's a courtyard, and they were starting to build up these offices right around the corner, and it was kind of
Yeah.
like the old, like, I don't know what it was. It was some sort of like delivery type business, but they started building office buildings. So they had this hotel. So we stay in a hotel and we're like, well, we can walk. You just walk kind of around and you get to the outskirts of the parking lot where the train drops everybody off, and then you just got to walk about a quarter of a mile to get to the stadium. And we go outside and I see this guy, and he's this silver whitish haired guy. He's got a mustache, I think. And I'm looking, I'm like, man, I know that guy. Who is that guy? I said, well, ready to go. And my roommate and I, Randy, we walk and we leave and we get to the stadium, and we're so thankful today to have Phillies legend Mike Schmidt.
Oh wow.
Mike Schmidt was standing right beside me.
Oh my
And
gosh.
he's from Dayton, and he went to Ohio University. I grew up one
Yeah.
county over from Athens, and I'm like, how did I not
How
recognize
did I
Mike
not
Schmidt?
recognize Mike Schmidt?
So yeah, that was 2017, and the late career resurgence. I just had that up from Hunter. 2021. You think of that last hurrah, the home run streak,
Mhm.
7 games. And remember the 8th game, he hit
Hit
the
yeah,
line at City Field on the
yeah,
wall, like 2 more inches up, and it's probably a home run. Would have tied the major league record held by I know Mattingly and Griffey hold it. I think there's one or two other guys.
yeah.
Um, and I guess I'll reminisce a little bit, and I'll let you bring up some more points. But I remember when I named my son Joey. I think certainly Votto hadn't had the full career yet, or not
Right.
very far. But I thought this is a guy that we could hopefully have for a while. And then
Mhm.
of course, I think he'd already signed maybe one smaller extension, but then obviously in 2012, I believe it was in the spring,
Yeah.
he signed the
That's a
mega
big
deal.
one.
So to have my son basically grow up and have Joey Votto be his favorite player, and
Mhm.
get to see, especially as Hunter mentioned, the later stuff. Like it's one thing for me to tell Joey, my son, back in 2012 when he's 2 years old, like, you should have
Mhm.
seen what that guy did. Well, now it's like, okay, he saw the 36 home runs. We were
Yeah.
bated breath every night for those 7 games in a row, and then the eighth
Yeah.
game, and then with last year with the Viking helmet celebrations and stuff. And
Yes. Yep. Yep.
even though overall it wasn't the best season for Votto, he came in and made his presence known, didn't he? So
Mhm.
um, I've got one other personal tidbit, but I've talked too much. What do you have? Anything else you wrote down or you thought of?
I the biggest thing for me was the seven home run streak was pretty impressive to me,
Yeah.
especially late in his career. Especially if trying not to be known as a guy that hits home runs. You know what I mean? For him to be able to put that on, like, it just really signified how good he was, and I think it reminded everybody of how good he was. So when he was able to do that, and you're right, man, that eighth one, I mean, it was, I mean, that close. I mean, that
Yeah.
close from going over. So I think that was the biggest one for me because I mean, I always consider myself a ride or die guy with Votto. Like no matter what it was going on, whether he was striking out or getting on base or whatever, like to see him do that in that stage of his career, um, and not only just that, but the 36 home runs and all the things that he was able to do that year, like it was just cool for me to see that. And you bring up a good point too, like for my son who's 17, so he was 5, he was
Hmm.
5 when Votto in 2012, he was 3 in 2010, so he really didn't have an aspect of how, like, that Joey Votto that we know. But that 2021 season when he really was able to kind of watch and understand the game, and he played the game and enjoyed it, so to be able to share that with him and all the highlights of that year and the 7 home runs and all that, those different things, that was really cool for me too.
Well, and I want to actually echo something you said earlier. Remember when it was like when he came to the plate, we're going to watch,
Mhm.
right? And even if
Yep.
I remember maybe in 2011 or 2015 or a bad year, 2017 wasn't a great year,
Mhm.
right, for the team. But I remember even like recording games because we'd have to put the kids to bed or something like that, and then I'm fast forwarding through us pitching so I can get to a
So
Votto at
you
bat.
it's the
And
Yep.
but let me, I guess what kind of the light bulb that went off when you said that. I love Votto. Baseball purists, you think of the Joe Posnanskis and all the
Mhm.
people around the game that just love Votto. Um, but unlike Ellie, who is captivating young people and non-baseball fans and
Mhm.
just casual fans that have to see his speed and his swagger and power and all that. Unlike that, that wasn't really Joey. So like
Mm-mm.
he was that's just how great Joey was though
Yep.
then at
Yep.
what he was doing. And the point of he started hitting home runs again in 21, how many guys in the game could say the Crew just scored, sorry. How many guys in the game could say, "Oh, I'm going to be a power hitter now,"
Yep.
or
Yeah.
I'm gonna hit the ball the other way more this year. I remember one year he said that he's like, "Well, I want to get more doubles off that wall,
Yeah.
the left field wall. I think I can do that," and he did.
Yeah.
And I think the point where he kind of finally realized um, he just didn't really have it as much was when he
Mhm.
couldn't just turn it on. Like last year,
Yeah.
even though the overall numbers and the I've had shoulder surgeries and things like that. Like actually, I had almost the same surgery he did, and and it's been like 10 years now since I had that
Mhm.
surgery. But every year when I play golf, if I play too much golf, it starts just dragging.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's probably he was so it was worn out. It just
Yeah.
gets tired is what the way I put it.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that's what happened to him last summer. He worked so
Mhm.
hard to get where he could do it, and he did. I mean, he hit the home run the first game. I mean,
Yep. Yep.
multiple home runs, just unreal. Oh wow, Cucho scored and took off his jersey and threw it in the crowd. The game's
Oh,
still
wow.
going, dude. Sorry. Hey, all you Cincinnati folks out there, I'm in Columbus. This is the one. I mean, I'm not a UC fan either. I'm a Buckeye, but as far as pro sports, yes, as far as pro sports, I'm a Crew guy. They started the year before I went to college at OSU. They played in Ohio Stadium the first couple of years, so forgive me, but they're in the League's Cup final. Um, yeah, so I don't know. It's amazing to me that Votto could do what he did, and
Yeah.
I guess one of the last personal stories, and then we'll look at this past dreadful week of Reds baseball.
Yeah.
Um, I I'm not big on autographs. I'm okay.
Mhm.
Like I have some.
Mhm.
When I was younger, I got them. When I was in college, I remember being at Wrigley Field and getting Aaron Boone and Sean Casey, and
Mm.
so I've got some autographs.
Mhm.
But about 6 or so years ago, my son wanted a Joey Votto autograph really badly,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
and I remember I went down to the sports gallery and I was like, "What do you have?" And they had one that was kind of, boy, he must have signed it like real fast,
Yeah.
and they had another one that was better, but at the time they wanted like $90 for it on a baseball.
Mhm.
I'm like, I'll do that if I have to, but man, I don't really want to pay that much.
Right.
Um, and we tried. He made a sign one day on a day game. We went down on a businessman special, and it rained before the game, and then
Oh.
Votto wasn't even in the lineup,
Oh.
and and he never saw the sign. He never came out during
Never
warm-ups.
came out.
And
Oh, man.
Robert Stevenson, the pitcher,
Mhm.
signed his ball. Joey had a ball. He had a couple balls, and he signed one. And he goes, I'll tell Joey about your sign, but he's not in the lineup today, so I don't even know if he's coming out." And we waited, and he
Oh, that's
didn't come out.
brutal.
So I was like, but as an adult, I get it. Like I don't,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
I
absolutely.
in this era when we have phone cameras, right? Cameras on our phones, I would rather get a
Mhm.
picture with somebody than an autograph. Like
Yep. Yep.
that's more fun
Absolutely.
anyway. I took his picture with Bob Steve. Yes.
Bob
Um,
Steve.
um, so, but my sister lives in Seattle, and she made a sign, and they went out there that year. I think it was 2019, and she went to the game and they lost. And when you're the visitors, you're already in the dugout and you lose, you just
Mm-hmm.
go right. So they they went the next. She went the next night and they won, and they did the handshake line out by the mound, and she's holding the sign, and he comes in, but he came. She said he came in on the other side of the dugout from where she was,
Oh
and
wow.
so she thought I messed up. I didn't get it. And all of a sudden he pops up his head over the dugout and he goes, "I'll be right back." And he goes down under and he brings a ball and tosses it to her.
Oh
And he had
man.
signed it. He had signed it. So
Wow.
because that's what her sign said, Joey Votto's autograph would equal the best aunt ever.
Yeah.
And
Holy
so he
crap.
signed the ball and brought it back. And then so she was coming to see us for my son's birthday in October, and she brought it, and oh my goodness, he still
Oh,
has
I
it.
bet. Yeah, man. I bet
Yeah.
that was awesome.
So
Oh my gosh.
but actually, when he was doing his rehab last summer in Columbus, he was with Louisville, but he was here in Columbus. He had outgrown his jersey, my son, and
Oh
so he
yeah,
took
yeah,
the
yeah.
jersey and Votto signed it there
Oh,
too.
that
So
is so
that was
cool.
really cool. So again, listen, you and I'm assuming with you, Eric
Yeah,
Davis, right? Eric
yeah,
Davis.
yep. Oh yeah, 1,000%. 1,000%.
But I didn't start paying attention till mid probably '87,
Mm-hmm.
and so, I have those years. I have that great '87. I have '88.
Yep,
He's in the All-Star game in '89 when Bo Jackson
yep,
hits the home run out at
yep,
center and
yep.
EBU is the center fielder.
Yep, he
Uh,
sure was.
I have that. I have the World Series home run.
Yep.
First time I ever talked trash was my friend was some reason an A's fan, and
What?
Eric hits the home run, and I call my friend. I was like, "Did you see that?"
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
we have that, right? We'll never
Yes,
forget Eric Davis.
a thousand
But
percent.
but he was only there for that for me
Yeah,
from '87. For my time knowing who he was and loving him was '87 through '91, and he's
90,
gone.
yep, and he
They
was
trade him
gone.
to the Dodgers,
Yep, yep,
and all these guys leave because of contracts. And as much as people lament the end of the Votto contract for the money, which whatever, the man more than earned his money.
I was going to say,
Um,
yeah, he earned his keep.
as much as though people do bring that up, for them to commit to paying him and making
Yeah,
him what turns out to be now a lifelong Red, I am so happy that
yeah,
that happened. And think about that. We've got Barry Larkin. So we did have Barry Larkin, but he
yep,
wasn't he
absolutely.
wasn't the phenom meteor like Ellie is or like kind
Correct.
of Joey. It wasn't a different way.
Hmm.
Barry was just a consistent.
Consistent guy.
And
Yep.
but we you think about that though. You've got Johnny Bench and Barry Larkin and Joey Votto and a few
Hmm.
years in between. But we're blessed to have that. And
Yeah.
I am thankful that he played for the Reds his entire career. I mean,
Hmm.
even like Pujols didn't stay in St. Louis.
Nope. Nope.
Um,
Not at all.
so so I guess at the end of the day, we're really blessed, and it's just amazing. And I'm glad your son, my son, I'm glad people like that, kids like that, have that
Yeah.
for such a longer time, such a
Yeah.
longer.
Yep. Absolutely. And you know, it's made me happy. Like it made me happy that he didn't put on another uniform. Like it just didn't feel right. Didn't seem right. Even when he signed it, like it just was not good. So for us to have the opportunity, like I think about lifetimes and generational type talent and generational type people. So in our lifetime, we've seen a Kobe, we've
Hmm.
seen Jordan, we've seen all these different generational talents. So I'm very very thankful that Joey Votto played for my team in this era, at this time, and that he was appreciated. Not only that he was a good baseball player, but he could really do it all. Like you said, okay, I'm going to hit for average this year. Okay, I'm going to try to hit more, opposite field doubles, or I'm going to try to. He made you think the game, and made you fall in love with the analytics of the game because he did them so well, and he
Hmm.
could figure out which one he wanted to do, and it didn't matter what other people thought. And the coolest part about all that is that true baseball people love Joey Votto because of what he was and what he meant to baseball and how he played the game and how he thought the game. So for him to be a Red and to be here his whole career, and for us to be able to experience that with our kids and our families, just extremely thankful.
Oh, absolutely. And the funny thing is, you said he didn't care what people thought. The best was the year that he decided he wanted to have a 500 on base.
Yeah.
And he actually said that was the goal. And now it was one of those years he got hurt and didn't play as much and just
Hmm.
wasn't himself. But I remember thinking like, oh, that's gonna make everybody
That's gonna
mad
make
because
everybody mad.
their brains will explode. Actually, I put that out. Let me see if I have it here. Oh man, I wrote it down. So I jotted down some guys. Because yeah, here it is. This is the research I did, and somebody else kind of put this out in a little different way, but I wanted to share this, and we're going to get to the fact that, and maybe we'll talk about that a little too, like the fact that he didn't come up right away. He's drafted out of high school, but he
Hmm.
didn't come up until later. He was about 25 when he started playing full
Hmm.
time. So hits plus walks. Okay.
Hmm.
Joey Votto, how perfect is this? Retires with an even 3,500 hits plus walks.
Oh wow.
He did so in only 2,056 games. All right. And I cherry picked these numbers. I'll freely admit it because guys that had over a lot more hits, um, they naturally would get hits plus walks more than Joey. Okay.
Hmm.
But I'm going to go over some names. And all these guys are in the Hall of Fame or Ichiro will be next year. Okay.
Yeah.
So Roberto Clemente passed away right after he had his 3,000th hit. So
Yep.
he had a pretty long career at that point.
Yeah.
3,621 hits plus walks. Okay, just over 100, or not even 100 more than Joey. But he played in 400 more games.
Wow.
He played in 2,433 games. Lou Brock, 3,784 hits plus walks. He played in almost 600 more games than Joey.
Jeez, oh Pete.
Ichiro. And now Ichiro had played pro ball in Japan and certainly
Correct.
he had his hit total together, but here in the States, playing for the major leagues, 3,736 hits plus walks. But he played again, he didn't play his whole career here, but he still played more than Joey. He played 2,653 games. That's almost exactly 600 more games than
Wow.
Joey played. All right. Tony Gwynn, 3,931 hits plus walks, but he played in 400 more games than Joey. And Adrian Beltre, Adrian Beltre, as good as he was on defense too, so I give him his
Right.
props right at
Right.
third base. Adrian Beltre is the more modern equivalent of a compiler, right? He,
Hmm.
he, he played forever, but he was good to the end. He wasn't bad, but he ended up with hits plus walks 4,014. Okay, so that's almost 500 more than Joey,
Yeah.
but he played in 900 more games than Joey. 900.
Whoa.
Okay. So
That is
now some
insane.
people would say, oh, well, a walk isn't as good as a double, triple, or a home run, right? Or a single with the guy in scoring position. Okay. But somebody had the numbers on like Ichiro, and Ichiro had so many singles with nobody on base that's the same as a walk.
That's the same as a walk. Yep.
And
Yep.
so
Absolutely.
so I went through those. I cherry picked those because, like I said, some were more, but you get down to it, and Barry was the same because of injuries. Barry didn't have the hits total and the games
Yeah.
played, but I think the crazy thing is 5 years from now, the people voting will be even more analytic driven and more understanding of all the different kind of
Yep.
ways that a guy does well in baseball,
Yeah.
and they're going to understand that, hey, he wasn't just a compiler because he only
Hmm.
played 2,056 games, but his numbers are as good or better. He's got the MVP. Clemente won an MVP and Ichiro won an MVP,
Yep.
but the other three did not win an MVP
Wow.
of that list.
Wow.
So I don't think there's any doubt Joey Votto obviously makes the Hall of Fame, and I think
Yeah.
I think before 2021, my question was, will it take 4 or 5 years to get through? But after 2021, I think his numbers, I think his power at that time of his
Mhm.
career, I think it's enough to say we're going to vote him in alongside Greinke and
Yep.
alongside Cabrera. That's going to
Yep.
be an incredible
Yeah.
class.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we'll have to make a ride to Cooperstown for that one, man,
Oh
because
my goodness,
that's gonna be
I can't
incredible.
imagine. Yeah, that would
That's
be
gonna be
so great.
incredible.
Um, all right. Do you have anything else on Joey Votto? We've gone 45 minutes just on the man
45.
himself.
I just no, man. No, I think we've hit everything. Just like we said, man, just incredibly thankful that he was a Red and will retire as a Red.
No doubt about it. And we'll tell our grandkids. So I guess the last thing I'll say is you were talking about like he was ours and you were happy when people around the league, around baseball
Mhm.
recognized his talent and that, hey, that's our guy, right?
That's our guy.
And if you
Yep.
think about so much of the story of baseball, especially when we were growing up, I read a lot of books about like Mays and Mantle
Mhm.
and all those guys. And the story was told through New York, even back
Yeah.
then.
Yep.
Okay. But but when they came to Cincinnati in the late 50s, early 60s, you had Frank Robinson, and I'm
Mhm.
learning more and more about Vada Pinson. The
Yeah.
guy was the guy was a great player.
Yeah.
He's
Absolutely.
got 2,500 hits. Um, but but you learn that those were the Reds, and then Pete came up in '63, and
Mhm.
they had a great team in '64 that was in the hunt toward the end. But it just teams should have the guy like it,
Yep.
when they do the voting of the all-star game and then when they decide, well, every team's got to have a guy, so we're going to just let you come. We you never want that guy just to be a token representative,
Right.
you know you
Yep.
you want it to be our guy, and
Yep.
certainly Joey was that for so long. So
Absolutely.
hat tip to you, Joey Votto. Thanks so much. Standing invitation, you can come on Red Leg Round
Oh
Table
man.
anytime.
Yeah. Yeah. Swing through.
Swing for the fences.
Swing through.
All right. We've got about 12 minutes or so before we'll wrap this show up. I, the week that was, they did take 2 out of 3 in Toronto.
Yeah.
Um, they go to Pittsburgh. They lose 7-0,
Ugh.
and then they have a 5-0 lead. I'm calling my high school football game. I'm sure you were at a high school. Are you
I,
in high school? Did you start this
yep.
week?
Yeah. Yeah. We started this week,
Yeah, in
week
Kentucky?
one.
Okay.
Yep.
So
Yep.
you were at a game. I'm looking down, and I'm calling the game, and I was my own on-site producer too,
Yep.
so I
Yep.
didn't have much time to score watch, but I did look.
Yeah.
Oh, we're up 5-0. This is great.
Yep.
Next thing I know, we're losing 6-5, and it's over.
Yep. Yep.
Like, what happened? Oh my goodness, what happened? All right, and so then certainly they do win last night, 10-2. Our friend Cam Miller was at the game, so shout out to Cam for
Oh,
making the
nice.
trip over there. And then they lose today, 4-3. They had a chance at the end, but they just didn't get it done.
Hmm.
Four prospective starting pitchers are on the injured list currently.
Yep.
um,
Yep.
you think about Hunter Green, especially,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
you know to lose guys. It's just Abbott's gone on
Yep.
the and we thought Ashcraft would be here all year. He's not there, and then even going back all year, Brandon Williamson is out. So
Hmm.
hey, Pat Magooch, you're finally here, buddy.
Hey,
Thanks
what's
for
up, Pat?
thanks for chiming in, and John, thanks for also being here. It was the Hunter show there for a while in Sydney, but my goodness, it's good to have you guys here. Um, so you had the epic rant to end all rants a couple weeks ago, Ben.
Yeah.
You put your stake in the ground about David Bell, and I would have been fine. Like, yeah, get rid of him. That would have been.
Hmm.
I wouldn't have argued with it last year, the year before. Yeah, let's move on. Let's find somebody
Hmm.
else. That's fine. It's not. I don't know how much difference a manager makes, but when you see on the peripherals, when you see a team that the Pythagorean theorem says or whatever it is, says they should be
Hmm.
10 games over 500. At one point before some of these blowouts, they had such a big plus run differential.
Yep.
Um, that's when you say, well, maybe the manager is affecting things.
Yeah.
Um, But this piece the other night by Mark Sheldon, I didn't even really click on it, but in the headline it says this, and it's a quote from David Bell: "Our results are my responsibility."
Mm.
Okay,
Mm.
so here's where I joined the Ben Brown side on
Yep.
the David Bell rant. Couple, well, 2 Fridays ago, I think it was. Fernando Cruz has struggled since the All Star
Mm-hmm.
break. He
Terrible.
has seen that ERA inflate,
Mm-hmm.
and he's had his moments still here or there with a maybe needing to get 1 or 2 outs. But when he's coming in and trying to get 3 outs, he has struggled.
Yep.
And here about a week plus ago, he comes out, bang, 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 1, 2, 3, gets out of the inning. And I'm like, oh, sweet. I can't
Mm-hmm.
wait to get, him having that confidence, get him out of there and bring the next guy in and good. Okay. Cruz is getting back on track. Next
Mm-hmm.
inning starts. He's back on the mound.
Wow.
What is he
Yep.
do? And this is not hindsight. This is me yelling back to the kitchen, hey, why is Cruz still in the game?
Mm-hmm.
And just can't believe it. Just
Yeah.
cannot believe it. And of course, we know what happened. He gave up runs. We
Yep.
lost the game.
Shell City.
Our results are my responsibility. That I can think of no better example of a David Bell. Yes, that was your responsibility. Absolutely. He wasn't on cruise control. Okay. So, yes, count me on your side. Return of the rant. David Bell must go.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think it's getting to a point now. And like I said, I don't know if managers really don't have a whole lot of control of who's on their roster. But I
No, you're
do
right.
think that they have they can control how teams play and how they manage games. I just don't think he does that very well, regardless of who's on your roster. And
No, yeah.
then and then on top of that, like it's just that feel of like, well, I guess it just happened. We just gave up runs. I'm like, I mean, I don't know. I just think that sometimes a team needs a change of scenery. Here's what you don't want to do is blow your new talent on old managers. So like you've got new talent, you're going to get Matt McClain back.
Right.
You got Ellie. You got Steer. You got some guys to build around. You're going to have Hunter Green, who's going to next year. Hopefully he's healthy, but he's going to have that ace level stuff. So you've got guys to be able to do things. Don't blow it on a manager that is not worthy of having a team like that. Like he's just not the guy. We've given him opportunities. He's had opportunities, and this is what's going on. So let's find a different way. Let's find a different means. Sometimes people need to hear different voices. Man, professionals are the same way, dude. If the same guy is saying the same stuff and they've got no respect for what he says, then it really doesn't matter. So maybe it's time for a change of voice in that locker room.
Well, yeah, and nothing goes down harder than Bally Sports cutting promos of Jonathan India saying how basically David Bell never yells at us,
Yeah. Yep.
and we never, he's just one of our buddies and all that.
Yep.
And it's like,
Yep.
no, that might be fine, like when things are going well.
Yeah. Yep. No,
But it's
absolutely.
just not. And the other side of it is that idea that you have to. You're right. He can't control the injuries and what's happened,
Mm-hmm.
but and because of that, plus some decisions in the offseason or decisions not to make trades,
Mm-hmm.
he can't control what guys he has available
Correct.
to him.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean you put a guy that literally will be bagging groceries a few weeks after you DFA him. It doesn't mean you bat him third,
Yep.
right? Like
Yep.
like there are spots lower in the lineup where those guys can hit, and Terry Lee Friedel batting cleanup. I realize he's got a little pop this year in his limited
Right.
action, but my goodness,
Yeah.
I just don't I don't understand it. And when things go poorly, it's always the manager we point toward. I understand that.
Hmm.
But even when things seem to be going well, even last year, there were times like, what's he doing?
Right.
So,
Yep.
you get down to it, and that's just where we are. I mean, I don't know what the answer is. If you tell me that the management is going to go back to the thinking of the 2006, 7, 8 era, and as much as I didn't always enjoy the Dusty Baker experience,
Hmm.
uh, if you tell me that management is serious about winning and they're going to fire David Bell and they're going to go look for a
Hmm.
guy,
Hmm.
not special assistant to the general manager's son, um, or whomever else you've got in the front office that you want to. Casey Kelly's pitching for the Reds, Ben. He
Yeah.
got released by a Korean team, and they brought him to Louisville to play for his dad, and it was
Yes.
a cute story. He's pitching for the Reds, Ben.
Yep. Yes. Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
He hasn't
Oh
pitched in the big
man.
leagues since like 2018.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm sorry that sometimes I
No.
see a squirrel.
Yeah, no, but I mean, we talk about that all the time. I'm like, dude, we've got guys getting major league at bats, like Mike Ford. Like Mike Ford got major league at bats for us. Like
And they
what?
batted him third.
Yeah, like what are we doing? Like what are we doing? Yeah, it's
Yes.
yeah,
Mike Ford was the guy at the tip of my tongue. I was trying to scroll and say, who was it this year? Because
yeah.
what was it? Jason Vossler last year.
Yep,
Even Nick
yep,
Martini.
yep.
Martini was fun on opening day.
Yeah, great. Had a day.
We're going to bat him fourth. And, the problem is, and some of the folks that, will point at you when somebody like Stu Fairchild has a good game and act as if
Hmm.
you disrespected Stu Fairchild. I didn't disrespect Stu Fairchild. I think Stu Fairchild is a fine fifth outfielder on a
Yep,
Major League Baseball team.
yep.
When you have to play him every day or 5 out of 7 days, that that's when
Not good.
Pat, you should have been here the whole time, Pat. Come on, that's funny. Um, so no, I won't be surprised if we move on from David Bell in the offseason, but don't tell me that we're just gonna bring in a guy, like a guy,
Hmm.
just a guy.
Just a
Tell me
guy.
you're serious, and tell me because again, I didn't think Dusty Baker was a great manager when he was with the Cubs. Like I was like,
Right.
we're getting Dusty Baker,
Yeah.
but he was a guy. He was a guy. He's not just a guy. He was,
Yeah.
So if they want to go out and find somebody like that, I mean, Terry Francona is not walking through that door. I wish he
No,
would. Um,
he's
and I
not.
can't think of who it would be. Like who are you
Yeah,
going to go get? Because
I was gonna say, yeah,
the other
that's
side
the
of it
biggest
is just like the NBA in a lot of ways. These guys that are getting jobs, Aaron Boone had never managed before. Like
Yep, yep,
how many Rocco Baldelli,
yeah,
the guy in
yeah,
Cleveland right now. I mean, it's a different era of who you
mhm,
think is going to be a good manager or who front offices think will be a good manager. And so I'm not sure who's going to be the guy or how they
right,
can figure out who that would be. But change can be good for change's sake sometimes when a guy's been here
yep,
since 2019 and you ushered in when they were all just rookies and they're going to do everything you tell them when they're rookies, right?
yep. No,
Tucker Barn.
absolutely. Talk about that.
I was hoping Joey Votto player manager would round
Player
out the
manager.
rest
Oh
of the
yeah,
season. That would have been fun.
that would have been legit.
Yeah. I mean, it couldn't have gone worse than 1986 Pete Rose, but
Ooh, ooh, that was
I liked
brutal.
when I talked to Steve Physiok, the broadcaster from back then, and Pete predicted when he was going to get the hit, like 9 or 10 months in advance. And he's like, "How do you think you know that?" And he was off by like a month because of an injury or something. But
Yeah,
he's like, "Well, I don't really bat right-handed anymore because I'm not. I'm not good enough anymore. And he's like, so X% of the pitchers are lefties, so I won't play myself those days. and then he's and then he's like, so, and I won't play every day against righties, but I'll play a lot against righties. So
Yeah.
so I'll probably get the hitter on August 15th, and he gets it on September 11th.
September 11th. Yeah.
So
Yep.
he did.
That's
He was almost right.
he was almost spot on.
Yeah. So pretty cool. Well, hey, do you have anything? I didn't even let you rant. Do you have a rant built up inside you?
No, no, no. Dude, we've been on that course, and you've hit every point that we were talking about. As far as I just think we just need something new. I think it's just time.
I agree. And you see it in college football. You see it in all the sports.
Mm-hmm.
A guy gets a chance, and the guy that kind of hovers around winning usually gets a little longer leash.
Yep.
And then you look back and you just think, what are we doing?
What are we doing? Yep.
His overall record is probably somewhat close to 500, I would guess.
Oh, yeah, I would venture to say.
I mean, in 19 they were okay. They had a winning season last year. 2020 was a shortened season, but they did have a right at or just barely above 500 record. So it's right around there.
Yeah.
And so he's been, especially given the roster he's had at times, they've done okay.
Yep. No, absolutely.
But I think that new voice idea, Sparky Anderson came in a very similar circumstance. I mean,
yes, he did.
Yep. I mean, after everything that had gone wrong, Lou Piniella came in on Pete would have still been the manager if the gambling hadn't bit him. And
yep.
But 89 was just a dumpster fire of a season for every reason you could think of, and then here comes Lou Piniella with just a new voice.
Just something different.
And
new voice and accountability.
I'd like to find a new Lou Piniella.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
But hey, we're past an hour now, and we did it. We barely talked about the current Cincinnati Reds, and I'm kind of happy about that.
Yeah, I was going to say yeah. With
Tim
Votto trumps that.
Yeah, and Tim lamented the fact that he couldn't be here because it's the Votto episode, but
yeah, no.
There's nothing saying you guys can't talk about him again next week.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm sure there's not going to be any improvement. I mean, there's sure not going to be any improvements in the Reds. I mean, we may have another Votto episode.
Well, you can bring me on. We can talk about Ohio State against Akron or something.
Absolutely. You already know.
I'm excited. It's going to be a fun season.
Yep.
Ben, thanks so much. We're on the Blue Wire Network, the podcast network. We have a plethora of shows coming at you. I'm a little stalled on Red Leg Roundtable, but I've got an interview. I'm going to tell you who it is, but just know because of where he is on the planet,
okay,
I'm crossing my fingers. Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm going to talk to a man in Brisbane, Australia named Donald Lutz.
Oh, wow.
And Donald played for the Reds. He was, I believe, the first German-born Cincinnati or Major League Baseball player. And he played for the Reds, and he played with Votto. And he's had quite the journey as a baseball player. But I've touched base with him. We've chatted. He is 14 hours ahead of us here on the East Coast of the United States. So it's threading a needle to try to get a hold of.
A needle. Yep.
I'm going to be late at night, and he's going to be somewhat, mid-morning, I think, is the plan.
Yeah.
So we're going to record later this week, so Red Leg Roundtable won't be out on Tuesday. But you've got the Riverfront Reds show coming up, releasing on Friday as usual. Bengals getting started here in 2 Sundays. All right. So we've got this is our last weekend without college football for real. I guess we had some games yesterday, but week 1 starts this coming week. The following Thursday, NFL kicks off, and that following Sunday, your Cincinnati Bengals will take the field. So the Riverfront Bengals show will definitely be hopping this season.
Yes, it will be.
They're going to be good. The Bengals are going to be good. You can mark my words. I'm not going out on a limb. And so we've got all that. We've got some college sports coming at you, some coverage of the local teams, and it's an exciting time to be part of the Riverfront. So
Yes, it
thankful
is.
to all of you that tuned in, and I tell you, um, the Reds will make us happy again someday soon. I think they
At some
will,
point.
but it's just it's not yet. Okay,
Yeah.
um, they need to make sure they get Joey there before the end of the season, though.
Yep.
Um,
I
he
agree.
needs a weekend or at minimum a day,
Yes,
and
he does.
hopefully that'll happen. And he's got to want to do it. So if he doesn't want to do it, then we'll see you next year, Joey. I hope you'll come back next year sometime, maybe on opening day or something like that. But somebody joked that they were getting they couldn't have him right away because they got to get the bobbleheads made.
Oh yeah. You already
They got to
know.
get the bobbleheads made first before we can have him. Well, hey, we've gone long. Ben, thanks so much for letting me sit in this chair. It's been a blast remembering Joey Votto's career. And
Absolutely.
I want to talk with you again soon. Good luck with high school football this fall. And
Thanks, my man.
go Reds. We're
Go Reds. We're
diehards.
still
We're
here.
gonna be there.
Absolutely.
We're gonna
We're
be
gonna
there
be
to
here.
the end. Okay. So all right. Thank you so much for everything and have a great night, everybody.